Welcome to the Built Not Broken podcast, where we talk about strength in every form, from life, fitness, relationships, and rebuilding, and getting stronger in every season, because strength is not just physical. Today, I have my first guest, Katrina Rasmussen. So excited to have her. She is a CrossFit Games athlete, national weightlifting record holder. She's insanely fit. We're gonna talk all about her fitness successes and how she got to where you are today. So, Katrina, thanks for coming on and being the very first guest.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Of course. Okay, I mentioned, where you're at right now, training for the CrossFit Games. What is taking up most of your time and energy right now before we get into how you got there?
Training is kind of crazy because, I'm not just an athlete. I'm a mom. I'm a business owner. And so I do spend most of my early morning training. So it's 5 a.m. and then I'll do 2 different sessions, and then I go and I'm just pretty much a mom the rest of the day and then trying to fit work in the rest of the time. So it's kind of where I'm at now.
You're juggling a lot of different things.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. And then I think people think you see this highlight reel on Instagram, or they see I'll post my training, and I think people assume that I'm in the gym all the time, and they don't realize that that's such a small piece of my day, and how intentional you have to be with your schedule in order to get the training in. And so I know it's people are always I don't have time. It's I think we all have the same amount of time, but it just depends on how you choose to fit it in. So
exactly, especially as being a mom,
Yeah.
that your kids have to come first.
Yeah.
But you still need to take care of yourself. So like you said, getting up early
Yeah.
into making sure that you can get your full training days in.
I know. Can you believe I'm a 5 a.m.er?
I'm going to convert you for years.
I know.
And you wouldn't do
never.
it. So the fact that you now are, it just shows that there's different seasons of life where you have to kind of pivot. Because earlier on, your kids were younger, so it was easier to make those the later morning classes.
Yeah, so early on, because when I started, Daxton, my youngest, was 5 months old, and he never slept, ever. I think he never slept more than 2 hours a night at a time. And so I would go to our 8:15 class, and they had a babysitter there, and, that made it so I could do that. But back then, it wasn't training. It was back then it was I'm just trying to do something for myself, because I didn't really have a lot of friends or social or anything like that. And so it didn't start where I am now. And I think that's an important thing that I always try to share with people, is that if you step in now, I'm in my 11th year of doing CrossFit. And if you step in now and you see oh my gosh, she does all these things, and the nutrition is the way it is, and the training schedule, and now you have your own business and you're programming for people. It's I started at the very beginning just like everybody else, and things just kind of evolve and grow over time. And so it's I didn't even know when I started what a clean was or what a snatch was, or never had even really picked up a barbell. And so that's just something that I think is easy to forget when you step in a different chapter.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's what's hard with social media now, because, you're posting these things, someone stumbles across your page and they see you, snatching 200 pounds, and it's oh my gosh, but they're not seeing the whole picture. And I think you can probably agree, CrossFit is really intimidating that way, because people see, you find these CrossFitters doing these crazy things. Then they're I could never do that. I can't step into a CrossFit gym. But you had to step into a CrossFit gym not knowing too.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it's I got to get fit before I can come try CrossFit. It's no, you don't.
No, we all have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
So on that note, how did you, let's kind of start at the beginning. So growing up, were you into fitness? Were you active? What did that look like in your childhood?
So my big thing was gymnastics, and I started that, I want to say in 5th or 6th grade. So it was kind of a late start.
Okay.
When people start gymnastics, their kids have to start when they're tiny.
Yeah, it's intense.
Yeah. So I always felt I was behind. I always felt I didn't quite have the right body type. I was too tall. I had more muscle than most of the girls did. And that served me well in terms of my tumbling and things like that, because I had a ton of power. I was very explosive. But I just always felt I just wasn't actually great at it, but I loved it. I was obsessed. I had this, because I didn't want to get taller because I was already too tall. And so in my bedroom when I was little, I would like draw my height on the wall, and as I would get taller, I would just cry.
No. Because in gymnastics, you just want to be shorter.
Yeah, you don't want to be tall. And my mom and my sisters are all like 5'2", and I'm 5'6". And so I would just like be so mad at my little sister because she did gymnastics and she like didn't like it. And I'm just was like, you have the perfect height and the body for it, and I don't. And yeah, so I'd sit there and just like mark on the wall and just cry.
You're like marking because they're excited about getting taller, and you're like, no, like, just stay.
No. Yeah, so I got like super into it. I wasn't great at it. Like, I mean, I did okay, but I started having issues with my shoulders and my ankles. Like, I would just roll my ankles all the time, like just walking, and my ankle would just kind of give out. And then my shoulders started dislocating when I was on the balance beam, because you're in this like different angle like this. And so I ended up, my final competition that I did, it was a state competition, and it was a really good one to end on. Because I actually won first in the state in my amazing. Like, I don't think they had age groups then. I think it was just like my level, and I was like level 7 or something. And then I ended up having to have shoulder surgery on my rotator cuff. So this was my sophomore year of high school. So I'm like going into high school. Okay. I had shoulder surgery in September and was in a sling for like 6 weeks. And then my coaches were not great. They really focused on like these younger gymnasts that were the right fit. And so I remember coming back and my coach just being like, a college will never take an injured gymnast, so you should just quit now. And I was devastated. It was like, this was my whole life.
Yeah, you'd been doing it since 5th grade.
Yeah. And it was like I trained 20 hours a week. So I would go after school every day. Like, my mom would check me out early, and I would stay till like 7 or 7:30. And then I would do private lessons too. And then like on the weekends we would compete. So it was like my entire life. And then you're in high school and like you're awkward, and it's like I had like nothing. So I decided to try cheerleading just because. So I recovered my shoulder, got like some of my tumbling skills back. And then I went to cheer tryouts, and I was doing a back handspring in it, and my shoulder dislocated the same one. It like popped out, and I was just like, oh my gosh, so devastated. So anyways, I made the cheer team, but then I had to have another shoulder surgery. So that sophomore year of high school, I was like in a sling almost the entire time. Like, so bad. So that kind of ended my gymnastics. And then I had, my junior year, I had ankle surgery on my right ankle. And then it's like after I graduated high school, I had my left ankle fixed, and then my right shoulder. And so that's been hard to like learn to, like when I started CrossFit, like learning to trust my body again. Yeah. To be like, you're throwing stuff over your head, and snatches were always super scary. Jerks were always super scary. Because I just was afraid of that. Yeah,
after hurting your shoulder.
Yeah, because if you've ever, like, people that have had that surgery, like, it is no joke. Like, I would do my ankles over and over, but rotator cuff surgery is, like, really difficult to recover from.
So I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
I have been lucky that way. I haven't had to have any major surgeries, knock on wood.
I know. Yeah, and luckily, I've been, healthy. Like, you have little injuries here and there in CrossFit, but I haven't really had anything major. But it's been interesting to look back and see like what I've learned now in terms of nutrition and recovery and all of that. And I look back and think, like, had I understood more about what my body needed to recover and to train, like, this training I was doing in junior high, like, I don't think these injuries would have happened.
Would you think with like having kids be in that high volume of a sport, like spending that many hours, that would be something focused on? Because I'm sure that happens to a lot. Like, if you, especially the kids that are starting even younger than you, it's probably really hard to actually make it through without some major injury.
Well, and I think too, like in any sport like gymnastics or anything where there's so much emphasis on your body, like you're in these tiny leotards, it's like it is really hard for a teenage girl. It's like you want to be thin and look a certain way, and then you're in this form-fitting stuff and everybody's watching you. And so there was a lot of like body insecurity, and then your coaches start saying things and people start saying things, and it's like it created, for me at least, and I know a lot of other people that do that type of sport, just a lot of insecurities around my body and the way it was. And so I remember they actually had a nutritionist come and talk to us. And I don't know what, I have zero memory of anything that was actually talked about, because I remember going home and telling my mom they said that angel food cake was good. So she went and bought that. But like, but yeah, I had some experiences with coaches, and I think because like we were old in gymnastics, like I was in the class of like girls that was old. And so they always called us the grandmas. And I was already like, oh my gosh, like we were in like 9th grade. And then they'd say things like, I remember going to a competition and my coach being like, oh, you can't eat that, or you can't eat a donut, and you can't do this. And so it started that, situation where we decide that foods are bad and that we can't have them. I had some coaches that were actually pretty terrible, but telling me I looked like a fat log running down the vault and things like that, where I was so slow. And so like, I just got in this place where I just really didn't like my body. It was like, I wanted it to be different. I wanted it to look different. I wanted to have that gymnast build that was just like super, super tiny and short. And I just like, that's just not the way I was built. And so that was always a hard thing to feel like I was fighting against that. And that's what's so cool about CrossFit, because it's like, I look back now and I think like, it's so crazy to think I was ever in a place where I hated my muscle, where now it's like, I have earned this. And it's like, it's such a like proof of my hard work, almost, because it's not something you can buy. Like, you have to work for it. And so kind of looking back at this phase of like, okay, well, when I was a gymnast, I felt this way. And then I had my kids and I wanted to just lose all my muscle. And so I would bike all the time. Like, that was my thing before I did CrossFit. I would just get on my bike and I put my kids, and it was when I just had one kid. I put him in my trailer and I would just bike, and I did those like meal replacement shakes. Did you ever do those?
Yes, I remember those.
Yeah, so I would like
the Slim Fast shakes, or
yeah, but it was like one of the MLM ones that are around here. I want to say it was like Isogenics. Did you ever hear of that one?
No.
I don't even know. That might not be your thing, but that's what came to my mind. But I would have one of those for breakfast, and I would have one for lunch, and I think I would eat dinner. But I did start losing a lot of weight. And I remember I had a friend at the time that was doing CrossFit. And she was like, you can't do that. You're going to lose all your muscle. And I remember telling her, that's the point. Like, I don't want my legs to look like this. I want them to be tiny, and they've never been that way. And so it's just crazy now to just like, it's so opposite from that. And it's cool how things have changed.
And so when you started, obviously you had gymnastics, all of that end in high school. Was CrossFit like the first gym that you went to? Like, did you work out outside of that? Like any gym experience, I guess? Yeah,
so I got married, and then I started just going, I think it was Gold's Gym when I started. Okay. Now it's Vasa. But I did that, and I would meet up with my dad actually at the gym, and just in the morning. And we would just like do the machines and do, the elliptical or whatever. And I never really noticed a lot of big change. And then I started biking, just like on the bike trail. And I didn't really go to the gym anymore, because that was after I had my first son.
Okay.
So then I had my second, and then it was like, what do I do? Because now he's a baby, and I can't have him in a trailer, because I couldn't pull both of them.
Yeah.
And I was just like struggling so bad after I had him, because he never slept. Like, I don't think he slept more than 2 hours at a time for the first year.
That's hard. So hard.
Yeah.
Any new mom
Yeah. And I had C-sections too. So with my first, when I had a C-section, it's like you have a newborn and you can just kind of like recover. But then when you have a C-section and you have a 3-year-old, you can't.
You don't get that chance to recover.
So I wasn't sleeping. I had a 3-year-old that was running around. I just remember I just could not recover from that C-section. It hurt so much longer. And anyway, so I was just struggling with postpartum depression. I remember going to my doctor and just being like, I feel like if I could just sleep, I would be okay. But you can't make your kid sleep.
Yeah.
He just didn't
Are you broken?
Yeah, he just
what do I do?
Never. And fun fact, he still is
sleep.
not a great sleeper.
Really?
I don't know. Anyways, that's a whole other thing. But we won't even go there. But yeah, so I actually was going to therapy and just trying to I was just not okay. And my therapist and my husband actually were like, you need to like do something. You got to find a hobby. And my dad and his girlfriend at the time were doing CrossFit, and I thought it looked fun and interesting, and they had a kids room. And so
Perfect.
they were like, okay, well, you should go try this. And I was just didn't want to do it. I was stressed about like the financial side of it, because the CrossFit is like,
It is expensive.
it's a lot more than, yeah. And so I finally just caved, and I was like, okay, fine. But I didn't have any friends, super insecure. And so I was like, I'm only going to go if my dad's going to be there. And so I would just plan with them. I think we would go like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I'd take my kids and put them in the kids' room. And it was such a good thing. It was like changed everything. Because you all of a sudden like have this community, and then doing something for myself that was about me. And yeah, like I was exhausted because I wasn't sleeping still, but like you just start to have this emphasis on like what your body is capable of versus what your body looks like. And that was a really cool shift for me.
When you got to use your muscle in lifting and all those different things in CrossFit.
Yeah. It was funny when I started too, because I didn't like, you don't really know what is strong. Like I remember squatting and somebody like, is that what you have? Like, that's what you're going to squat? And I'm like, is this a lot? Like you just have like no idea.
No concept. Yeah.
And I got like, my numbers went up pretty quickly because I just was always naturally strong. And so, yeah, that was always, and now it's like, now you get in your head and you know what strong is. And it's like, then you get these numbers and they just feel impossible.
But that first part of CrossFit's so exciting because you are seeing PRs consistently. And I think that's part of the fun. Why I got excited in CrossFit too was just like, oh, every day you're like picking up a new skill or lifting more weights. And like you kind of mentioned in the beginning was people are so nervous they think they need to be fit before they go. But honestly, it's more exciting not to be, because if you're starting, you're going to start seeing these results start to stack up on each other.
Yeah. And I remember, I mean, because we went to the same gym forever, that it was always like, oh, Katrina's getting another PR. Oh, Katrina's getting, like, everyone hates you right now. I'm like, oh, okay.
That's great.
Just get another one. But now it's like there's so few and far between. It's like, oh, please.
I know. I don't think I've hit a PR in like 5 years, so I get that.
I don't even know when the last one was, but it's all right.
But I like what you mentioned about like you finally found something for yourself, because I think that's something that most moms can relate to. Because I think after you have kids, it does become, like, whether you choose or not, it becomes your whole identity, because now you have life that that needs you for everything. And so it's hard to leave them. It's hard to do honestly anything for yourself. So, but I think it's so important because you noticed such a big difference. Like you weren't getting more sleep, but just that one thing was helping so much with that postpartum.
Yeah, it made a huge difference. And I do think like it was still like, I don't know if you ever experienced like that, it's like severe mom guilt of like, I'm putting so much time into this. And it's like, like you said, you have your kids and they're your everything. And especially when they're tiny, it's like they can't even do anything for themselves. And that was hard for me to understand, that it was like okay for me to do things for myself outside of my kids. And so really for the first, like, I don't know, it was a lot of years where I really struggled with that. Like I would feel guilty going to the gym, or I'd feel bad when I'd bring them and they had to be in the kids' room. And so I always tried to make it fun because I didn't want them to hate it. And I was afraid that they would grow up like hating the gym and that they wouldn't want to come with me. And so, yeah, like Dax, I would bring like a walker to the gym so he could be in the kids' room and not knock over like when he got bigger. And then we would have like certain gym snacks, like his fruit snacks that he only had at the gym. And I remember like leaving the gym crying multiple times just because he was so upset. And it was like, I feel so bad that I had brought him. And then I always had to like bring them on Saturdays too. And so we started making that more of a fun tradition where like I would go for an hour and then we would go out and get a donut after, just, for something fun, just like make it fun to kids. That. So yeah, it's like that has been a huge process for me. And it's still sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm putting like too many of my resources into this, or I'm putting too much time into this. And I do think it's important for your kids to see you taking care of yourself. And I think that's a good thing for them to learn. And also, not just that, but like, it's good for your kids to see you prioritizing your health.
Yes.
Like that, and that it can be fun, and that we're not, like, I'm not punishing myself by working out. Like, I'm doing this because I love it. So that's actually been a really cool part of competing, is like, your kids get to see you prepare, and then they get to see you succeed sometimes, and they get to see you fail. And then they get to learn from how you process those failures. And like, do you give up, or do you make excuses, or do you own it and like learn from your mistakes and keep going?
Yeah.
So.
Well, because I think it's so much more powerful for kids to witness that than just to tell them.
Yeah.
Like, you should do these things, you know, you shouldn't quit. When it gets hard, you should eat healthy. And then when we're not doing that as parents, you know, I think watching you do all these things, even if you're not like pushing it on them. Like you said, you hoped that the gym wasn't like a negative, but by them seeing you throughout the years, they are going to naturally be drawn to that, and they want to make these choices and do the things that you're doing. Yeah. You're not just telling them. I think that's a big thing with parents, like, you know, it's do as I say and not as I do type thing, but it's so much powerful if you're actually doing the thing.
Yeah, that's what I've learned the most, is like, you just want to lead by example. So I remember I competed in weightlifting, you know, and I had never bombed out. Well, actually, I did bomb out one time, but that was different. That one didn't feel as bad. I think it was 2024. I competed at American Open Finals. We were in Arizona, and I missed all my snatches. And I had done these shirts before and like sold them as a fundraiser. And so I felt like I had like people watching, and you know, my kids weren't there, but they were like watching from home, and I missed all my snatches, and I've never done that before. And I don't know, I remember dropping it and just sitting there like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? And so I went back, you know, we had to clean and jerk after, and I only hit one clean and jerk, and I won clean and jerks. But I was like so sad. And so I remember though, because we always tell our kids, like, you have to fail to succeed. You got to keep trying. You know? And so I call my family after, and Dax gets on the phone, and he goes, Mom, how bad did you fail? I'm like, pretty bad, but it was pretty bad. But it was a cool thing, because, like, you know, I've gotten back out and competed since then. And, you know, and it was so, I remember my first meet after that, I was like so scared. But I do think it's important to, like, for my kids to see that, and for them to see that it was like, it would have been so easy to just never go back out, or it would have been so easy to like pull out of the competition and not do clean and jerks. And so that's been a cool thing, I think, as a parent in the fitness space. It's like, you can let go of some of that guilt if you feel that, of like, you know, I'm taking time away from my kids, to like, I'm actually showing my kids how to set goals, how to reach them, how to keep pushing through, how to be healthy, and that will take them like so far.
Yeah.
At least that's what I hope.
No. I feel the same way. I think we're all trying to figure it out as parents, but I think you have the right idea. I think I love that he asked how bad did you fail?
Yeah.
but then you continue to go out and do it, and they get to see you push through, because, you know, they're going to have a lot of those failures. So getting to see that their mom is going after it. And I also think that it's helpful for them, you know, when they become parents one day, is that they get to see, like, that they don't have to lose their whole identity. Yeah. Kids are amazing, and it's being a parent, you know, I think is the greatest thing that we can be. But it's not. You're still you. You're still a person, and so I think it's great that they get to see that. Yeah. So obviously you started CrossFit, going with your dad, gaining the confidence there. Yeah. So what got you to start being competitive? Like, how did you start competing in CrossFit? Like,
I competed pretty quick, actually. Like, I remember I signed up for my first competition. I think it was like September or October after I started, and I had started in March of 2015. Like 2025.
One of those years, like, it's been.
Bless my heart. Anyways, but yeah, we did that competition up at, it was like FitCon.
Yeah, yes, FitCon with Rich Froning.
Yeah, and I didn't know who he was. That was. She like comes over and she's like let's take a picture with him. Like, who is this guy? And they're like, Katrina, stop.
He's just the fittest man on earth for he was like, the face of CrossFit.
No, and I didn't even enjoy that moment because I didn't know who it was.
I'm over here fangirling. Like, oh my gosh,
I was fangirling, like, who's this guy?
It was better though, because you probably weren't as awkward around him. You're like, okay, who's this guy? I'll go take a picture with him.
Oh man, and that was a different. I don't even think that was the first one. I remember doing because you did that one.
Yeah.
On a team.
Yeah.
And I did one before, and we had like a max deadlift and a max strict press. I remember, and there's only one other girl competing. Oh. And so I got second.
So you're like, this is great.
Second at my first competition.
I love
with
that.
2 people. But yeah, and so it just kind of evolved from there. But I think you were a big part of helping me that first year because you made regionals in, was it 2016?
Yeah, 10 years ago. That's crazy.
Gosh. Wow. So like we never trained at the same time, but I remember like we just became friends. And when did we even train together? Like on Saturdays?
I think I still have this one memory of at CrossFit Hyperion. I think it must have been a Saturday. And I remember we were snatching next to each other. And we were brand new because I remember we both didn't really know how to snatch. But I remember hitting like the same weight, and we both like awkwardly like hit this snatch. I want to say it was like 85, maybe probably 95 pounds, but it was like we were all excited. And that was like the first time I remember having an interaction. I don't really remember how we like really became friends after that, but I have that first gym memory. We just clicked.
Because we
just
never
clicked.
worked out together.
Yeah, it was always different times.
Later.
I think it was like we both just wanted to get competitive around the same time, so I think we just started talking more about it.
And then you convinced me to push a sled 800 meters.
Oh yeah, that was.
That video. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I got a coach, and that training was brutal.
Oh my gosh.
It was broken on the road. We couldn't.
Yeah, we got stuck, but that year, like when you have somebody else that's pushing hard too, like when you go to the class, it's one thing. It's like you're with the class and you're pushing and training, but when you have someone else that's trying to be competitive, like even though we weren't in the same class, we were like pushing each other in different ways.
Yeah.
And like you had a coach and I didn't, but like, I don't know, when you have that like push, it just helps a ton. And so that made a huge difference. But then for me, it was also like, I came into this with no friends. And I remember being like so excited to be friends with you because like you had kids my same age and, you know, you weren't doing the Utah thing. And so anyways, it was, that was huge for me.
I loved it too. Yeah. The fact our kids literally were that close in age. We started CrossFit like right around the same time. So it was fun and exciting to both have each other to be like kind of push off each other while we got better, which I think is a cool part of CrossFit too, is that like you're competing, you know, we're still competing against each other, but then like how it is such a community and you are able to like keep those relationships and like you're building off each other, even though you're kind of competing against each other. Even though I feel like we've been lucky enough that we've gotten to compete mostly together. There hasn't been a lot of, I just avoid competing against you. So I'm like, there hasn't been a lot of times we've had to like go.
Yeah. But I do think like on that note, I think there is an interesting thing in sports like this where you do have to kind of learn how to have a healthy relationship and healthy friendships when you're competing.
Yes.
And that's like something we've worked on in our friendship of like, you know, as we've grown up and evolved and like created our own identities outside of CrossFit, because CrossFit became so important to us that it was like, it was hard on our friendship when we were like excelling at different rates.
Yes.
And I watch other people now, like newer people, and you see them trying to figure that out. Like, yeah, we want to be competitive, but like you also are friends and it's this weird thing. So I always talk about like with my athletes that I'm coaching, this peers versus rival, and how when you have a peer, it's like when you get better, I get better, and we get better together, and we're helping lift each other up, and we're doing all these things, versus like a rivalry where it's more like this measuring stick.
Yeah.
And it's really hard not to get caught into that where it's like this person beats you, and then you all of a sudden feel like I suck, I'm so bad at this, they're better than me, and it becomes like detrimental to your success. And so that's something that I've had to learn a lot and like figure out how to just like be okay with what my strengths are, and then, you know, still being able to celebrate my friends who have different strengths. And I think we have a very like unique journey in like our friendship with that, just because of where we were at when we started with our own insecurities and things, and then where we are now. So
Yeah, I agree. Well, especially because we are such different athletes too.
Yeah.
So trying, coming in, like I said, the first time I met you, we were both figuring out how to snatch, so we hit the same weight. But you're naturally so much stronger than me. So fast did your lifts go up. And, I had the things I was good at, but like watching that, I remember being, oh my gosh, like she's getting so strong and I'm not. It's a hard thing you have to kind of settle into and like accept like what your strengths are, and we all have them. And I think that translates, not just in the gym, right? I think as women especially, we're always comparing, and there's always, with the gym, with motherhood, with just the name, keeping up with the Joneses. It's like you feel if someone's succeeding, somehow taking from you, but trying to understand like, wait, she can be great, but I can also be great, and that doesn't take from that. So I think having that in the gym, that's probably helped in other parts of your life too. I think all women need to understand that we're all great.
Yeah, but it is hard when you're comparing, and then if you're in a place in your life where you're struggling, then it can become really difficult. And so I think what's been cool with you and I is that as like we've grown, then it's become this amazing thing where we help show each other what's possible. And so it's like, I remember you growing your social media and like starting to doing these things, and it was like, oh my gosh, look at Mikkel, like this is so cool, and she's doing all these things, and you started coaching at like different gyms and doing stuff, and then we started doing our clinics together, and I'm doing different things now, and we talk about that, like how we're inspiring each other by showing each other what's possible.
Yes.
Instead of it being like, oh, you're doing that, so I can't now.
Yeah.
And I think that's where things can get tricky for women and anybody, not just women, but just in that competitive space.
Yeah. Understanding there's room for everyone.
Oh, yeah.
We can all do it. We can all do the things we want to do, and it doesn't take. And I think you're spot on. It's been so awesome to watch you, with all your successes, and it motivates me. And sometimes there's similar things that we're both going after, and sometimes they're completely different, but it's just always motivating to watch you, crushing it out there. Which, on that note, you're an amazing coach as well as an athlete. So you also have that side of things. So how did you get into coaching?
So I remember flying back from regionals, actually, back in 2000, you went 2016, so I went 2017, I always forget. So I remember we needed more coaches at the gym, and the two women that were on the team with me were both coaches, and then the gym owner was there, and they were like talking about coaching, and I remember just being like, I don't know, like I'm not sure if I want to do that. And then and a big part of it, the reason I wasn't sure, like I had a lot of insecurities and like thinking about like being up in front of a class, it's like, what do I even know, So that was a part of it. But because I did have this like level of guilt, and I had a really tough time like being away from my house for a variety of reasons, that it felt like, oh, this is going to take more time away. And so I did end up, obviously I started coaching, I got my level 1, and I just love it. Like it's so fun to help people reach their goals. But I quickly started coaching our teens class at the gym. And there was another girl that ran the class, and I would just come in and help cover. And that was really cool for me because I struggled so much with the coaches that I had as a gymnast. And I told you some of the things they would say.
Traumatic.
Yeah. And like that I still had like issues with myself because of those coaches. And so realizing like I can be the coach to these teenage girls that I never had. And so that has been like one of my favorite things, is to go in and like, I run our whole teens program now, and that's mainly all I coach in person. Like I have one other class at the gym, but I really just run the teens program. And it's just so amazing when you have like, the boys and the girls are great, but I just have a special place in my heart for the girls in the class. But when they come in and they just like don't think they're strong, or they don't think they can do something, and when you show them that they can, I remember one girl, like she'd been coming forever and her technique was great. And I wanted her to use a 35-pound dumbbell. And she's like, I can't do that. It's too heavy. And I'm like, listen, I wouldn't ever ask you to do something that I didn't know you couldn't do. Like, I know you can lift this. You're so strong. And so she did it, and she's throwing it around like it's nothing.
Oh.
And so I come over after the workout, and I'm like, look at what you just did. Like, you are so strong, and you're moving that weight so easy. She's like, I know, it's so weird. But that's really common with the girls in the class, is it's like, it's almost like they're afraid to be strong almost, or like it's not looked at as like this great thing. And so it's cool to kind of help them change that and like focus on like, look at how strong you are, look at what you can do. And I don't know, I love it. Like, I love watching that. So then obviously I've like evolved from there, but that's like my one that I just love.
I love that, because starting with CrossFit, that's kind of what changed for you and for me. It was when I realized, wow, getting strong is so cool. Like, I was similar to you, where I'm like, just wanted to be really, really tiny, really skinny. And then I started CrossFit, and then it was like, oh, wait, this is so cool. Like, getting muscles when I could see a little bit of definition, or my lifts went up, and just knowing that you could do those things. It's crazy, the confidence that comes from that.
Yeah, it's pretty, that shift of what can I do versus how do I look?
Yes.
And it doesn't mean we don't want to look. Like, I obviously want to be confident, and I obviously want to go and feel like comfortable in what I'm wearing and the way I look. And so the aesthetic side of what we're doing is an added bonus, because everybody wants to feel confident in their own skin. But it's not just about that. Like, it's just cool to see what we're capable of, and to push our limits, and to think like, oh my gosh, like my body can clean that much weight.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Well, I think it makes it less of a chore when you're like, there's different things you can celebrate, because when we are just looking at like weight loss or the way we look, and we're forcing ourselves to go biking or running, just nonstop of something to like look smaller, there's not a lot of excitement in between that.
Yeah.
So then having something like you said, that the aesthetics becomes a bonus, because then now you're celebrating, I lifted more today, or I got, I figured out how to do a muscle up or whatever, a pull up, whatever it is. But then as you're doing that, obviously your body's going to start changing as well in a positive way. But I know for me, that kept me excited, because I'm like, oh, I'm not just focused on this, but wow, actually my body looks better than it has, but I'm having fun. I think that's a big part, is just finding where you can have the fun in between and not.
Well, and I know both of us have talked about like, before, like, all your emphasis is on the scale, right? And like, you get these numbers in your head that you think like, okay, if I weigh this on the scale, then I'm going to be so happy with the way that I look. But the reality is the scale is not, that number isn't really what we're aiming for. It's like, we all have a body composition in mind. Yeah. And we think, oh, when we hit this number, it will be that. And so the crazy thing is that like, I weigh more now than when I started CrossFit. And so it's like, I would be like, I failed if it was all about the scale, right?
Same.
Like, oh my gosh, I have put on so much weight. And that has been a challenge in and of itself, because when you start putting on muscle, it's like kind of confusing to be like, wait, like I had this number that I wanted, I always wanted to be in like the 140s. And I remember we did that lift off forever ago. Remember we brought the scales to the gym?
Yes.
And I remember I was like 148, and I was so stoked. I was like, yes, I made it. I was so lean. Oh my gosh. And now I'm like, I'm 10 to 15 pounds more than that. And like, there's more muscle, but it's not like I'm still lean. I'm still that way. And so that's a shift. And that's something that's hard to like teach people. I know you've had clients as well, where you try to convince them. It's not, everyone says like, oh, muscle weighs more than fat. It's like, no, a pound is a pound, but the fat takes up more space, and the muscle is smaller. And there is kind of sometimes this awkward phase in between where it's like you are building muscle, and so like the scale is changing, and like maybe your clothes are fitting different, and you might not realize it, but you are actually changing your body composition in a positive way, even if the scale isn't reflecting that.
Like when, women always say they want to get toned. They just, they want to get toned, but so they don't want to lift heavy. I was that too. I remember after having I think it was my second, like, okay, like I remember asking my brother, what do? I got to go to the gym, but I don't want to get bulky. I just want to get toned. But I think what a lot of people don't realize is that toned is because you have muscle. Yeah. You can't get toned by
Yeah, you got to
not
build
lifting. You have to have the muscle underneath.
Yeah. And if only people knew how hard it was.
I know.
to get
That's
bulky.
the funniest thing to me, because when I did get so into competing and trying to get big, because now I needed to get big. I was way too small. I couldn't compete, and it was so hard. I mean, it's still, I'm like, putting on muscle it's a full-time job.
Well, and that's something too where you have to remember that like genetics play such a huge role, because like we talked about how you and I are so different, and you're so much of like this gymnasty, like you always are so good at all the gymnastics, and I remember you were always like running, crushing the running in the workouts and things like that. But then I had the muscle, but then all the cardio stuff was harder and the gymnastic stuff was harder. And so I think when you look at somebody that you're like, oh, I want to look like this person, or I don't want to look like, I don't want to have that much muscle, you don't realize how much genetics play a role. And like for me, like I said, when I first started, I remember the first time I maxed out my front squat. And I had no idea what was good and what wasn't. But I remember I hit 170 like the first time, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, that's your first time like maxing out. I'm like, is that good?
I have no idea.
Is that a good number? But it's like, that's where I started, because genetically, that's just like, I've always had more muscle. And if you see my family, like both my parents are more muscular. And
well, even your boys now.
oh my gosh, right? Yeah, Cohen's ridiculous.
Jack. I'm like, geez, he's 15?
He's not even 15
Not
yet.
even
He'll be
15?
15 next
Okay,
week,
I'm like, he's...
But yeah, like that.
It really does play a part, yeah.
Yeah, because he's built so much like me. And so, yeah, he's just like, he has all of this muscle. And it's not like he's hitting in the gym all the time.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't come to CrossFit with me. He works out at school. They have like their weights class. And he like works really hard in PE, and he plays baseball. But it's not like he's, at the gym trying to get ripped.
Yeah.
So genetics are huge. And so when people are so afraid of getting bulky, I'm like, not only is it genetics that play a role in that, but like, you have to be so consistent. It's like, my favorite thing is be like, just try. Like, we've been doing this for 11 years now. Let's just try squatting heavy twice a week for 3 years and see what happens.
Yeah.
And like really heavy though, like where you really push it. Cause I think some people don't, like they think they're pushing their limits, but like a lot of times when it starts to get sticky at all, people are like, oh, too heavy.
You get nervous, yeah.
Yeah. It's like when you really learn how to push and like through that sticky point, that's when things really start to happen. But most people don't need to worry about that.
I know. I love it, just because I think people in their mind they're gonna accidentally like be a bodybuilder, BJ. Like, no, it's okay. Like, don't be afraid of the weights.
I know. And then when you try, and then you're like, oh, this is actually so hard.
When you get excited about muscle growth, you're like, oh, this is challenging.
Man, it's funny.
No, I love that. So now you have your own online coaching business as well. So it transpired from just CrossFit coaching into your own thing. How did you get there?
Yeah, so this is also fun because this is just made me remember that's how we started talking more too. So when we were first starting, our gym owner did what he called an AWOD. It was after the workout of the day.
Yes, I remember.
And we had to do the gym workout first. We had to get that done. And then there were these extra things for anybody who wanted to be competitive that they could do. And it was just a variety. Like he would put in strength work, and he would put in like, more of the high skill stuff. Like sometimes it would be like GHDs or ring muscle ups and things like that. And that's for me because I didn't have a lot of time. Like I was working full time and taking my kids to work with me at the time. And so I would come and do the 8:15 class, and it would get done at 9:15, and then I would spend like 30 to 40 minutes doing the AWOD or doing like some extra skill work. And I got really good doing that because I was being more intentional. And I remember seeing like some other people that were just adding in so much volume. They were there for hours, and they weren't having the same progress that I was. Yeah. I remember progressing a bit quicker. And so that's where the idea for my programming came in, because most women, or it's not just women, like most people at the gym, they're not just working out. Like they are moms, or, they're working full time. And so we have these big goals, but we don't necessarily have hours and hours of extra time to make sure that we can hit those goals or reach those goals. And then the next piece is that we don't really know how. Like, what do we do? And so I started this 3-day per week program that had that same idea of how I got to where I am now, because the community was huge for me. Like in order to stay consistent, I wanted the community. I wanted to be there with my friends. Like, you do better when you're pushing against other people. And so sometimes people start too soon. doing their own, they'll get a competitor's program or something and they'll start and they're not doing anything with anybody else. And so they don't really push as hard.
Yeah.
Or they think they did well, but they don't actually know what other people are doing. So I wanted to create something that supported like staying inside the gym community while also helping people reach their goals. So I have my 3-day Olympic weightlifting, and I started that one because I started realizing a lot of gyms focused more on the conditioning, and like there were so many gyms that I would talk to, they're like, oh, we never snatch, like our coaches are afraid of snatching, or we never do jerks. And so then it would come up in like the open or something, and they've like
no experience.
Like they never do overhead squats or anything. And so this way it gets people snatching, cleaning, and jerking once a week. And then they do their front squats and back squats. So if they do that consistently, and then they're just adding that in addition to their regular gym workout, then they just see the strength like go up like crazy.
Yeah.
And then their technique. And then the gymnastics piece is the other one. It's like people don't know how to get better at it.
Yeah.
You get handstand push-ups in a workout or ring muscle-ups in a workout, and you just modify the same thing forever. And so this one's 3 days a week as well, but that same thing in mind, like you'll go do your class workout, and then after for 30 minutes, you spend time doing, what I have programmed. And I always program a push, a pull, and a core. So that will mean like right now we're doing wall facing handstand push-ups. We're doing just a core circuit with an emphasis on like plank positions for push-ups. And then we're doing butterfly pull-ups. So we got our pulling with the butterfly, and there's always strict work in there. You're pressing with the handstand push-ups and then core work. And even if like you're not wanting to work on butterfly pull-ups or maybe your goal is bar muscle-ups, if you jump in on the cycle and you get all the strict work in, you get that core work built, you're going to see that improvement across the board. Because anytime you improve your strict pulling, pressing, and core, like everything else improves. And so I'll get that feedback sometimes where people are like, oh, we've been doing this, and I just did a workout with bar muscle-ups, and I couldn't believe how much easier everything felt because their lats are stronger and everything.
Yeah.
So it's so much better than just getting on Instagram and saying, here are some random drills I want to try to get better. It's a progressive thing from week to week, so that if you're busy and you have goals, you find a way to get it in, but then you also get the feedback and the specific progressions there.
I love that. So how long are these sessions typically?
So the gymnastics one is the shorter program. It's 20 to 30 minutes.
Okay, perfect.
So they can jump in. And the nice thing is if you're doing it after your workout, you're already warm.
Yeah.
So I always put in like a quick warm up that will just, like for butterfly pull-ups, for example, we'll do some things to like get those little shoulder muscles warm. Like, you jump up and do some like arch to hollow body swings, and then you just get right into your workout because you're already warm. You don't need to do a ton.
Yeah.
And then I'll sometimes add in optional work if someone has a little bit of extra time. Like let's say some of the drills take a little longer to set up, especially if we're doing like ring muscle ups. And so that might eat up like, the 20 minutes that you have. And so you can prioritize, like, do I want to work on the drills or do I want to work on like the strict strength? Or if you have extra time or a different day, then you can jump in and do the optional work later. So that one's shorter. That one's like a quick get it done right after it. The weightlifting, just the nature of weightlifting, like it just takes longer. You've got to do your rest in between. And so those sessions are closer, like some of them are 30 minutes, on the shorter like power days. But if you're doing like snatches and squats, it's going to be closer to a 60-minute session. So a lot of people with that, it's helping them figure out what they should do at their open gym. Because people go to open gym and they just like don't know what to do.
Yeah, it's always better to be following something instead of just doing random, like you said, finding random drills.
Yeah, but that was the cool, like I created this because it was like people want to know how you went from here to here. Like how did you go from this mom that like had never picked up a barbell to now you've qualified for the CrossFit Games and you hold a world record in weightlifting. Yeah. And obviously I've gotten coaches along the way, and obviously I've had times where I trained more than that. But at the beginning, so I started in 2015. I didn't really start working with a coach and having longer sessions than that until 2021.
Okay.
And that's when I switched strictly to weightlifting, and I did that for a couple of years. And then I came back to this same idea of, okay, I'm going to do the class workout. I'm going to do my extra stuff for a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's when I like started to really progress again and ended up qualifying for the games.
Yeah.
So
No, I think that's awesome because I think both of us can say like the awesome part when we started CrossFit was the community, right? You go, just working out by yourself, you can do it, but like having all these people around you, it just is so motivating.
Yeah.
So I know I did kind of what you mentioned. I got a coach really quickly on, and they didn't want me to do the class workouts. And it didn't last very long with him because I was so sad. I was like I want to get better, but like also the part I love about CrossFit is that I'm working out with my friends and I'm pushing against these people. And I only ended up working with him for a few months because of that, because I'm like, well, I feel like I'm doing, I do better. So I like that you're still putting emphasis there, that be part of the community because that's so building. But then they can spend an extra 30, 40 minutes focusing on those specific skills.
Yeah.
So
it's been going good, and continuing to grow, and I'm learning a lot as a coach. It's different doing things online than it is in person, and but everyone in there is having a lot of success. I get a lot of feedback of they're finally getting the skills that they haven't been able to figure out, because it's just hard in a class, and that when you're coaching, it's like you do the warm up and you're like, this workout has pull-ups, and then you see someone over there like flailing around trying to do butterfly, and you're like, whoa, let's calm down,
take a few steps
dial
back.
that back. But it gives them the steps to get from here to here. And then I also do, like, in the app, there's a chat inside that's a group chat, and so they can actually send videos in, and then I watch all of those and give them feedback. So it's like one-on-one coaching without the programming's not personalized to them, but they get the personalized feedback. And I love that because I feel like I'm more connected to the people that are in it, instead of just having like these like faceless people sign up for a program, and then I'm not a faceless person either. Like they get to see that I'm like a real person and I'm talking to them, and we're getting to know each other through those videos. So I think that's cool.
I think that's awesome, especially with the internet and everything like that. It's so easy to find. They could go find a program to follow, but being able to get that feedback specifically from you, and they know what your skills are like in that. So
that is the game changer there.
Well, it's amazing. It's amazing to watch you as a mother of two be able to not only juggle being this incredible athlete, making it to the CrossFit Games, all of that, but then also building this coaching. Like, it's impressive. And I know firsthand trying to juggle it all, how challenging that can be. So I just want to know if there was one thing that you would like women to pick up from your story, like to take away from that. What would you say is a big one?
I think the biggest thing for me is just keep showing up for yourself, and it's okay. Like, you have your kids and you have your family, but keep showing up, keep putting in the work for yourself. And that alone, like what I talked about at the beginning, how I didn't have confidence and I was super insecure, the best way to build confidence and to get to where you want to be is by making promises to yourself and keeping those promises. So if you make these goals, like showing up every day and holding yourself to that, you are going to grow not only in the gym but in yourself, just overall confidence by just proving to yourself that you can do it. So
I love that. So good. Okay, my last question. Obviously, we've talked a lot about your story and different trials and things, but is there a specific thing that you felt like could have totally broken you, but instead it built you, it made who you are? Is there a moment? I know, it's deep.
That's a big one. I mean, I think just the struggle with the postpartum depression and this guilt I felt about my kids and this guilt I felt about going to the gym and feeling like I was taking away from my family. It would have been so easy for me to just say, fine, I'm not going to do any of this. I'm just going to sit back. I'm going to just let myself go.
Yeah.
And pushing through it's still hard. It's still something I'm, struggling with and dealing with, is just being okay with putting myself first in a way, even though, you still put your kids first. Yeah. But I think that's the thing. If I wouldn't have pushed through that, like everything would be so different, and
Yeah.
it would have been that was really a hard time. So
Well, and I love that because it's so relatable. I'm sure so many women feel that deeply. So, I mean, it's like it's the oxygen mask thing, right?
yeah,
But you have to put it on yourself first before you can.
yes,
You really do. So,
100%.
well, Katrina, tell everyone where they can find you.
On my Instagram, it's just trina.rasmussen. So it's Rasmussen. There's no ass in Rasmussen. That's what we
That's
say.
a good way to remember.
And that's how you say it. It's Rasmussen,
Not Rasmussen.
Rasmussen or Rasmussen. Just, it's a tough one to say, I know. But yeah, that's where you can find me.
Awesome. And she's going to be at the CrossFit Games in July. What are the dates?
21st through the 24th.
So
21st through the 23rd.
In San Jose. So if you're in that area, or you can catch it on live streamed as well.
Yep.
So.
And I'll be selling shirts, so get a shirt.
So
they're
go
gonna be
to
so
her
cute.
Instagram.
Yeah,
they are
so
cute. I saw a sneak peek on one day this week. I saw you wearing it. So
cute.
awesome! Thanks so much for coming on Build Not Broken. It's great to have you.